Hi, this is Virginia Shank, vocal artist, coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia. And this is a series, an interview series I've begun called Vocal Journeys, where voicing yourself ignites passion for our planet. And today my guest is Ruth Cunningham, one of the founding members of Anonymous 4, a fabulous medieval vocalist and harp player and many instruments. And she's going to begin with some music first, and then we'll talk with her. Gorgeous, Ruth. Thank you so much. Um, wow. We're in a different world than we were in just a few weeks ago, a few months ago. And in fact, for our viewers and listeners, Ruth and I have known each other for a while. And in fact, last year we taught a workshop retreat actually at Ghost Ranch in New Mexico. And we're scheduled to be doing one this month.
Right, yes, right.
Yes.
All correct.
But obviously that's not happening to keep us all safe. But you know, I'm a jazz vocalist. Ruth is a classical medieval vocalist and improviser, but we're both improvisers. And so we've had the greatest time joining these two worlds and styles of improvisation with singers of all ilk. And we meet in the middle in a really beautiful way. Would you like to say more about that, Ruth, and how we met?
I think we met through Rhiannon, who's a wonderful jazz singer, improviser, and colleague of Bobby McFerrin. And we just had started singing together, and the rest is history. We met up, we don't meet up near enough, um, but it was just fabulous to do this workshop in New Mexico and the magic of New Mexico. And just as she said, just sort of meet somewhere in the middle of our vocal worlds.
It's really a wondrous thing, and I feel very grateful that we're able to do that, and we certainly look forward to when we can reschedule that. But in the meantime, for our listeners, hope that I'm bringing some new people your way. Um, some who may not know about Anonymous 4. And could you tell us about your vocal journey through life and founding of Anonymous 4 and then on to your own journeys as well? What's that
Okay.
been like?
Um, well, I started singing at 4 years old in the church choir, and I've been singing in church choirs pretty much solid since then. That's a big part of what I do is in terms of just service and I sing in a professional choir, but I've just been doing that forever. And it was through the church actually that I started getting serious about music and about early music, because the organist in the church I was heard that I played the recorder and said, "Oh, Ruthie, we're doing a Buxtehude cantata at Christmas. Wouldn't you like to play?" So I had to learn to play the alto recorder and to read music and all those things, and sort of
Oh, that's so fantastic.
the rest is history from there. Because as a teenager, I was really involved with early music and both singing, always singing. That's always been part of it. But I became a baroque flutist and a recorder player and went to conservatory in Boston as a baroque flutist and a recorder player in their early music department. So from there, I moved to New York and started my career as both church musician, of course, and as a Baroque flutist, because I was, for a while, I was like second or third or fourth flute in Baroque flutes in the Baroque orchestras of New York. So I did both. I did combination concerts with singing, and a couple of years through there, I think around 1986, I met. I'd always been singing in choirs, but I met the women of Anonymous Four. They had just started their group, and one person was like, you guys rehearse too much or whatever. I don't remember what her reason was, but she decided she didn't want to do it. So I got in. I was the first one that they called after she said she didn't want to do it. And
Wow.
basically, I was in at the beginning of it. And the minute I started singing the medieval music, it's like, okay, I'm home. I loved it so much. And working in a group like that, where there was no director, we had to come up with the programming and decide what pieces. I mean, we have an amazing musicologist and language people, so it was like but we all sort of crafted these amazing programs together. And we spent the first 5 years really just working and singing together and finding a blend because a lot of singers who listen to this will know how difficult it is often to just blend. And we had four very different voices, and we had to learn how to really make a sound that worked for this, and really worked on chant because at that time there was people didn't spend as much time on chant as we did. But
Well,
anyway,
you
after
all you all were one of the only women's groups doing
yes,
chant. That was really unusual.
yes, and we sort of that's one of the reasons why we wanted to see if there was all these men's group doing chant. Well, what would it sound like in women's voices? And so we really worked on it and honed it. And about 5 years in, we sent a cassette tape to to Harmonia Mundi, and which is our recording company, and they decided to take a chance on us. And sure enough, it took off because at that time, chant was actually becoming popular. There were a couple, records that were of chant that had become popular at that time, and so it just took off, and we ended up being on Billboard for weeks, and it was a big. I mean, it was really that Harmonia Mundi decided this is interesting, this is different, and they took a chance, and sure enough, it reached across different kinds of audiences. It wasn't just classical audiences; it was the New Age people. There was like a mix of people, and I guess that was like 34 years ago. So we started making, I was with them for about 9 years, I think, 9 or 10 years. And at that time, I decided I really got the call to work on music and healing because people would come up to us after concerts and say, "Oh, your music, I'm using it for when my brother died. I used it for when my child was born. I used it for, just all the different uses that they were making of this music, and how
Right.
they would have really strong experiences during the concert, and they would tell me these things. And I thought, I really have to work on what this is and find out what this is directly. And
And
so,
that's another place where you and I cross overs with my
yes,
background in music therapy. And
yes.
I'm always conscious of what it is I'm singing and why. And
Mhm.
we never know what sort of responses we're going to get. Yeah. So then you took some time out from Anonymous
Yeah.
4.
At their height, we were doing like 90 concerts a year or something, 80, 90 concerts a year. And I just got the call. It's like, no, I really, I need the time to study this. So I went and studied with Pat Moffat Cook out in Bainbridge Island. I mean, just every 6 weeks I would go out there and study. And so I learned, I just spent a lot of time just studying that, spending time with that. 9/11 happened in the middle of it, and I got to have really direct experience with, playing music for people in just extreme situations. I played they had enough wherewithal to decide that having live music at the St. Paul's Chapel, which was right next to the where the buildings went down.
Yeah. Ground
They wanted
Zero. Yeah.
live music 3 times a day. And so I went down there a couple times a week and played. And
It's
so
so
that was
fantastic.
amazing
Yeah.
to be able to also to be able to serve my city in that way. And I just started improvising and doing things at that time, and just trying to gauge what music was needed for what situation with improvisation. And so that was the beginning of that. And in my class with Pat, there was this thing called sound journeys, which she would do with recorded music. And I thought, oh, but with live music, that would
Absolutely.
really
Yes.
powerful.
Right.
So yeah, so that was sort of the beginning of the sound healing. And then 9 years later, Anonymous 4, one of the people left, and they thought, oh, we'll just fill in for another year and finish it out. And I rejoined. It was like, oh, let's do this. Let's continue. So we continued another 8 or 9 years after that.
Really wonderful. And for those listeners who are new to you in your work, you were doing a lot of concerts with them, and we're talking, with NPR on PBS, and a lot of those things still show. I want to back up for a minute too, because I'm struck by how church music from the jazz tradition and from the classical tradition, that's such an entry point and um, building up of skill that people sometimes don't realize,
Yeah.
as kids are growing up, how informative that is.
Yeah, if I hadn't been had, all of the music that I had as a young child, both in the choir and then as
Right.
I discovered early music, it really was, it formed me.
Yeah, and still in the gig economy, I mean, that's still part of your life.
Yeah, oh yes,
Yes.
always, always. And
Yeah.
but I didn't say, I think that the music that Anonymous 4 did was mostly, in the beginning anyway, then we began to do some American programs and contemporary music programs, but in the beginning it was very solidly medieval music and
Right.
and chant. And we would work meticulously on chant. It was like we would work out every single line. And so I was pickled in chant basically for
Yes.
all those years. And so now when I improvise, chant really, of course, influences what I do. And then when I started studying with Rhiannon, who we both studied with, I got to add another layer of sort of improvisational language and rhythm that I hadn't had before then. So it was actually a wonderful um, mix there.
I really relish the fact that with everything you've done, you've really immersed yourself. You've really taken the time to study and learn, um, you know, as a band, if you will, your group Anonymous 4, that you really took the time to hone your skills.
Mhm.
Um, that's often difficult for musicians to have the time and wherewithal to do that, but it certainly has served you so well and served us so well in hearing that music. Um,
Mhm.
the other thing too that was so fascinating to watch Anonymous 4 do is, like you said, to go into new music, like with Stephen Reich and Nico Muhly, maybe.
Yeah, I didn't do any of those concerts, but
Okay.
we did some. We did David Lang, and we did some. So then we did a bunch of American music, like shape note music also, which was really quite wonderful. Yeah, we did do a piece by David Lang also. So it's been good, and Richard Einhorn, I should mention, we did this amazing
Oh,
piece
yes.
on
Yes. Shadows
on
of Light,
yeah, Voices of Light. It was,
Voices of Light. Yes.
and that was phenomenal. I think that was our first toe in with doing contemporary music, and wow, it was the soundtrack for this 1929 Carl Dreyer film that he wrote, and it was just a masterpiece. Really,
It
really.
was. That is a really fantastic piece. Yeah, folks might want to go look that up and listen and watch. Um, Ruth, how about play something else for us?
Okay.
Yeah, time for a music break.
My arm. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I started at my church jobs was organists always get to improvise, during church. And so with a couple organists that I worked with, Robert McCormick and James Kennerly, we started the tradition of improvising chant because the churches I was in were very Anglo-Catholic, and we did all of the Latin chant. So we started the process. We started the practice of basically picking a mode and go, and they would go wild, and I would, within the mode, and we would create these worlds with these Latin chants, and it'd be sometimes it's like, well, this text is kind of spooky. How about the Phrygian mode? And then we'd go. Um, so I do that myself with the harp. I mean, it's lovely to be able to do it with an organist, but I also create them with the harp. So I'm going to make one now for you,
Beautiful.
an Ave Maria, because she's always there. Here we go. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Jesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae.
Gorgeous, just gorgeous. Um, Ruth, I know that you were, things have changed with the COVID pandemic, and we're all finding our way somehow. Yeah, right. I know.
We are
Um,
finding our way in this Zoom meeting.
this Zoom world, the Ave Maria made me think, because you and I have spoken previously, that you have a relationship with the ubiquity. I can't say it. The ubiquity.
Ubiquity University.
And you were to be at Chart this summer, and maybe talk about some of that work. What do you have done there? But
Well, it
that'll
was
come around.
yeah, it was part of their they're doing a whole series of the different medieval schools of musica, rhetorica, and they would do them over like a series of 7 years. And I joined them when they hit musica, and it was just thrilling to be in that space. Chartres Cathedral is just you've been there as well, I know.
Yes, yes.
It's very, very special, that place, and the energy of the mother is so strong there. And to be able to play and sing by that labyrinth and play and sing in the crypt was just so powerful. And I've been doing it for, I think I've done it for 4 years now. And this year we won't. Hopefully next year, maybe. We don't know. But anyway, just to provide music, basically be the musician and provide music as people are walking the labyrinth. I taught a small choir last year with Marian songs that I wrote, and that some chants, and it's exquisite to be
It
there.
is exquisite. So, I just hate that you can't be there this summer, but this is, the things that we're dealing with. So, um, give us a glimpse. How has life changed since the pandemic has hit? How are you spending your time? Where are you finding opportunity, or are you? Or
Well, I'm still feel like I'm trying to find my way. I've been making small videos for
Mm.
um, for on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. I have a YouTube channel that I post most of that at, which is uh, YouTube user slash Ruth Reed, RUTHREID. You can also just look up Ruth Cunningham, and I'm sure I'll show up. Um, but so I've been making little small videos of usually because I'm trying to follow the church year, even though I'm not in church. Like around Easter, I did some of the propers from Easter, and last Sunday was Good Shepherd Sunday, so I did a version of the 23rd Psalm, and so I've sort of been in church and not in church doing some poetry. My sister is a poet, so I've done a couple of her
Wonderful
readings.
poet. Yes, I've heard some of those.
And so I'm starting to do that. That I'm trying to figure out how, how I translate that. I mean, it's like we're all in this new world, and yeah, how I get those pieces out and how I get the work that I do out. I'm thinking of doing a Zoom meditation.
Wonderful.
I was supposed to do a meditation at Princeton Chapel, which is just amazing to sing in.
Yes, and I know you go there fairly regularly doing
I did
that. And
a series this year of four, and so of course the fourth one was in early April. So they actually, instead of just canceling it, they said, "Oh, let's use some music from your living room." So I made it from my living room, and so that's the kind of thing I would like to try and find more, perhaps do meditations classes. I'm just, I'm trying to like open the box because it looks like we'll be in this position of on the online for a
you might
while.
be. That's right. I'm amazed though at how creative people are being. I mean, I love that Princeton said to you, let's do this online.
Yeah,
Um, I know you teach some sessions or
I do teach. I
online.
teach voice. I teach. I don't have many students right now, but I'm certainly looking for students.
You
Both
too could study with Ruth Cunningham. Oh, you
because
all, wouldn't that be fantastic?
the nice thing is there's no, they don't have to live in the city.
That's
Um,
right.
and another, but yeah, since I've done a lot of this work with sound healing, I mean, I can work with humming and toning and using things that will help sound practices that
Yes.
will help support you and open you up during this crazy time. I mean, so I'll teach,
Right.
sound healing things, just voice, maybe recorder or flute. I mean, I don't know, but I haven't quite gotten going with that. But that's I think it's definitely in the works that I might do a sound healing class, or if there are enough people that wanted to do that, we could do a Zoom class.
Oh,
Um,
totally possible. I think there's lots of possibility. And, so these are some ideas now that you're thinking of. And maybe folks even could reach out to you if they are like, oh, yes, I'd be interested in that, or I'd be interested in
sure.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You're even playing for a dance class
I
from,
am, yes, for the YMHA in Washington Heights. One of the friends, I have a friend who is teaching dance class for, sort of a dance improv class for seniors in their living rooms.
that's
And so I'm the musician. So
your resident artist.
she'll,
Yeah.
she'll describe the movement that she wants. I'll look at it and think, oh, okay. And I'll make something up
So great.
according to that movement, and I love that. I mean, and it's
Yeah.
so I'm still like trying to uh, open my mind to what are the possibilities here, because I think we're going to be dealing with this for quite a long time. And
Yes. I mean, we're all in this soup together. So it might even be helpful. We'll have your contact here.
yeah,
If there's something you all would like to hear Ruth do, you could write to her and say, how about this idea? How about, because we do have time on our hands now, folks,
yeah,
we are available. So it's a two-way situation.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I was thinking I also have another thing that I'm doing that just sort of came out of the blue was a mother said, well, my kids want some more sort of one-on-one thing with musicians. Would you play the harp? And she had no idea that I have all the sizes of recorders and Native American flutes and drums and gongs, and so she hit the jackpot there. And that's going to be, I haven't done that yet, but I'm really sort of curious to.
Fabulous. That's great. Well, so maybe give us a different taste of the things that you do.
Okay.
Flute or something?
Flute. Okay. Here's a flute. I don't play modern flute. I only play the wooden flutes, and I play them in sort of an improvisational style, although I can still play Bach sonatas and things like that, but mostly this is a Renaissance flute, and I'll just play something. I'll make something up.
Beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful.
And for something completely different.
Oh,
It's a little Native American flute, and I take this up in my woods. I live near the woods in Manhattan, top of Manhattan in Inwood. And I'll take this up to the woods and play, and the birds are like, "What are you doing?"
so fun. So fun and gorgeous, you know. And to play that improvisationally, you know, you have the Bach and Baroque background from many years of studying flute, you know, and then be able to just let go and soar, man,
Yeah, it's
it's the
because
best.
I spent all those years in the practice from playing Bach sonatas that I can go wherever I want.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, people often think, "Oh, well, sound healing, you don't really play the instruments." Well, yeah, I did spend those years.
Yes. We're not
But
just playing nothing. Yeah,
in the classical background, I am so thankful, for that kind of training that you get
absolutely. Yeah,
in whatever form your art form is. It's not just it undergirds, especially if you're improviser. I mean, a lot of the sort of some new age people might not be have the classical training, and I'm really glad I had the classical training.
exactly.
It
Yeah,
was
me
always
too.
interesting to go to Rhiannon's workshop because there were a lot of jazz singers, but there weren't as many people who sang Palestrina on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I have a little bit of both.
you
So
have both. You
I know
have
what
both.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, well, Ruth, thank you so much for this time together. And how
Yeah.
can folks find you?
Uh, www.ruthcunningham.com is my website, which is out of all the information is up to date, but the events I have not updated because I mostly work on Facebook. So I have an artist page on Facebook as well where I post new things. I also have
Yeah,
Instagram. I think if you put in Ruth Cunningham, you'll find me. I think it might be Ruth Reed 11 is my Instagram name. And I post pretty much everything on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, which I gave you earlier. You can list all that.
great. Yeah, we'll put all that in the information. And thank you so much. And I want you to be safe and stay strong and just keep playing. And as we end here, will you give us one more something?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. I'll play the harp again.
Great. Ruth, thank you so much. You all, this has been Vocal Journeys. I'm Virginia Shank, and my guest today has been Ruth Cunningham. You can find her at ruthcunningham.com or on Facebook, Instagram, all those good things, which you can also find links below. Thank you, Ruth, for being with us. Stay safe in New York.
Thank you. Yeah. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.